Pulsechain is, in my opinion, the place where $100, not even in here today, can change within the next few years, if not sooner. So if you think you're late, you're not. If you think you're early, you might be, but you're in the right place altogether, because Pulsechain, I believe, is going to melt some faces. And you know, I mean, even Rune had a big tweet today, the owner of MakerDAO, talking about PDAI, which is going to be something called Pure DAI. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. Pure DAI. So what is that really? You know, they're talking about launching a stable coin that isn't really stable, but it starts out for the first couple of years, I believe it's stable, and then it fluctuates in a pure value method to where it's stable. It goes around from 75 cents all the way up to $1.25. Why would they do that? Well, right now, the stable coins work off something called a price stability module. So whenever a buyer comes in, it pushes the price up a penny. When seller is coming to sell, the other way around. When a seller comes to sell, it pushes it up a penny. When a buyer comes to buy, it pushes it down a penny. So it always makes sure that the AMM and the stabilized protocol is always making profitable trades. This was kind of streamlined by the maker dev Hexanaut, who was a maker dev for what looked like stablecoin, pretty much stablecoin. That was his thing, and he was the one that pushed the vote through for the price stability module years ago under the name still Hexanaut. Seemingly, like, I texted him a couple times. One was, when Spark on Pulsechain? His response was Article 8, Section 9. The owner of Maker Core owns Spark, not the other way around, pretty much. And I was like, oh, we don't need you here. Pretty much what he said. Y'all don't need me there. You know, because we have their tokenomics, and Richard had their tokenomics long before people even knew. He had Ether Hex, I believe, on Hex over there on Ethereum a long time ago. And even then, they had mock DAI and mock ETH. That's all it is a combination of mock DAI and mock ETH, to where you take one and you give them one. You take one, so it doesn't matter what you give it, right? It's a real world asset onboarding tool. So it's like, you onboard the car, you give them 400 grand, right? But if the car's worth 500 grand or whatever, you know, as soon as it hits, before you lose money, they get liquidated. You know, NFT closes, their position's gone, the funds are gone, but the real world asset remains. So that's the idea. They're like, it's like the ultimate stable coin, I would say, because you could literally swallow it. He could literally swallow whole liquidity pools, I think, because it's one big token, and pay it 1 ETH in return. Well, I guess the price would matter, of course, but nope, wouldn't. He would literally be able to swallow whole. So that's probably, I believe that's where the whole method came from, was probably whenever he was copying the chain, being able to take an entire liquidity pool worth whatever and then give it an ETH in return. It's pretty awesome. I guess you would also have to own the liquidity pool too. So, I mean, there's some stipulations there, but yeah, neither here nor there. There's a lot of cool things that we've kind of uncovered as far as, you know, RH and some of the, you know, how long that they've been doing this, and the coding had been written, you know, even one of the codes that I found today, the Uniswap v3 liquidity pool update, it's massive. Like, all the stuff that I was talking about before about being able to go to this section of this layer and then go to this wallet, like, it's all in that. It's all in there. it's I gotta read a little, but it looks like a combination of what Oxen is doing, OXEN, which is running the privatized section of the blockchain right now on Pulsechain, which we saw in action just a couple days ago, and I'll get into that soon. But because it's just a brief little, but so. Yeah, so like, I guess people probably don't even realize that that's happening. And then I don't think it's going to be a permanent thing. I think they're doing this as a test bed to know, like, the flaws of a certain way, to pushing the boundaries a certain way, to see what, you know, people find versus what they can't find versus what they do find after they go through their next test net. And then, you know, I believe that's whenever the RH wallet comes out, and we will have things called observers that are set, you know, they're watching it every 2 hours, you know, and they get paid in Pulse or something like that, and they just have to sit there and just watch the blockchain. And then anytime there's a non-consensus block, or there is a quote unquote paid private block that's ready, That's whenever you would, mark it down, and then, yeah, because right now what they're doing is they use some really unique methods, but it's pretty much like an app, and then it looks like people are like it's generating AI, and it puts like John Smith, and then somewhere be like Pulse Labs moves 100,336 light bulbs today, and then like somewhere down the line it'll be like blast 420 beams of light at, something like that, right? And then it would say the time, date, and then sentence structure. But they have AI thrown in there, so that's the kind that, yeah, it seems a little weird, but it works because it's doing what it needs to do, because they just take a snapshot of it, and then it's kind of deleted. It is deleted. That's the point of privacy. So they actually fork, so it's a strong protocol. Their stuff is pretty awesome, and it's all open software, so you can go and watch it. I think it's OXEN dot. Yeah, I don't tell you all the wrong. I think it is OXEN.io. I don't know if they're affiliated with Zen or not. I believe they could be, or Zen might be the thing that comes in, runs the full scale of it. Because seemingly they have the same stuff, but yeah, so does the Uniswap V8. The Uniswap V3 pools also have that code in them too. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening.
All right. So, I mean, you did kind of touch on Rin's recent tweet about the pure stable. Any other thoughts on that? Does it change any of your insights?
No, it means that it's spot on. That means that they're on track. There's also two more launches that I'm keeping my eyes on, which is going to be the stake Wise contract going to Gnosis, and then the Wise. Did I get that backwards? It's the Wise Lend protocol coming here, and the stake Lend protocol going there. So yeah, and the stake Lend protocol, which is already here right now on Ethereum, is a MEVBot trading protocol that gives 2 to 4% rewards, and at 95% success rate, if not higher. And you can literally go there right now. And I believe that is, once we see that launch when we start seeing movements on Pulse, get excited, because these things are pretty cool contracts that we could interact with. And if we have the ability to interact with them, it's going to be it's going to be pretty cool. Because I mean, even if I have to sit on, I'd rather not. The velocity of money is important, right? So the issue that we run into with fiat is greed. People get greedy, so they hoard it. The more and more people hoard it, right, it actually does nothing. It actually hurts them. They don't realize it. If they put it into stocks and they move the money around, it actually helps. But they hoard. That's human instinct. But that's why money shouldn't work like that. So, in my opinion, and I believe this is what Richard Hart's ultimate goal is here, is the velocity of money. Being able to move money around, constantly move it around, to where there's always going to be circulation. There's always going to be something circulating around. There's always going to be a way for other people to still make money, even while 15-year stakes are going on, right? I have my own theory on that, but I think that there's a reason why he owns the majority of the protocol. I think there's still a few more mysteries that need to be unfolded, but I think you know what they might be. It's it's funny to me too, like Wise token, like Wise and the Gnosis protocol. Like the word Gnosis means wise, and they both have an owl. So think about that. Quick speculation is that Richard might have been a whale in that protocol. He might have been a part of them launching it. He would never say that. Why would he? Because there's a lot of really cool things that Gnosis are doing, that we can't do, because it's like certain types of Oracle situations and setups. Now we have protocols launching on our chain that are doing that same type of setup, like PLS. He's doing so it's like a decentralized Twitter. So think of it like this: that the price of a token is $5, and then you have you and your goons voting on that. Yes, it's $5. You have to pay $5, and they say no, we want to pay $4. They're like, okay, put up money. But as you're putting up money, you have to put up votes, and then you have to put up money and pass us up in votes for the price to move, right? It's a little bit more intricate than that, but that's it's kind of how it's going to be. Like, so, like, say I think PDI is going to, here's $20. I think PDI is going to peg in November, and then Sonny comes up and he goes, no, It's not, it's going to peg on whatever, you know, and then people can just kind of go yes or no based off me or his vote. So if he votes over here and starts his own pool, there'll be votes for yes or no on his, and there'll be votes on yes or no for mine. And then whoever wins the vote will get like everyone gets like a share of the reward of the winning votes, all right, of both sides. So that's a pretty neat little way, because it's like it's a way to drown out the noise, so to speak, because it's a proof of truth protocol kind of. Well, in today's world, God, you know, I hope that the truth is what finds its way out of people's mouths whenever they're putting their money on the line. But then again, worser things have happened. So, but yeah, it's kind of like it's a very interesting protocol. There's a testnet. He told me the testnet was coming out within the next month or so. But yeah, plspeak.io, I believe, is the website. And Mike is a great OG, and I actually held an AMA with him like right before he launched, or right before the Sacrifice went live, or whatever it was. So, and yes, he's still here. And yes, in my opinion, him waiting was the best thing he could possibly do. So like everyone else is flooding him. I'm like, dude, like, thank you for not launching, because everything else got annihilated. But I think, again, a lot of what we're seeing on chain is not on purpose. Maybe by Richard, yeah, it's on purpose. He's out for blood. But this is what a chain has to go through, in my opinion. It has to, otherwise it just, like he says, you can't just give stuff out. Like I think we were all thinking we were going to get a 40x out of this after it launched. Like people, I think that's what he wanted. He wanted people to think that too, because then he wanted to make sure that they were extremely disappointed, so then they would leave and never come back. That's just an RH thing to do. And like, he is fighting for our rights and for our freedoms. Whenever you're getting attacked for using personal funds out of a personal wallet, that attacks everybody that uses personal funds out of a personal wallet. That's what they're there to use. Even in a wildly speculative situation, he went to a party where coworkers were, and he paid for something. He paid for the event, and didn't even show up, but paid for the event. And that's highly. I'm making that up. I don't even know if that happened, but wouldn't that be allowed in the real world? I would think so. And you're talking tens of millions versus billions, plus the 60 and 40 billions, like 80 billion that he sacrificed an end value right at the end, which everyone hated too, right? But I can tell you all right now, Richard is a whole hell of a lot smarter than what people think he is. And I think he values the fact that people underestimate him. Because I know I love it whenever people underestimate me, because that's how it's always been. Especially, over the past decade or so. It's never been easy. But I've even proven myself wrong, because I never thought I'd be here today. I never thought I'd be up here having a conversation about cryptocurrencies and being able to provide value to, even after mislaunching a token a couple times, right? And through both of them, no fault of my own. Right, but it's just like it hurt a little bit, but that's why I have my devs. We will work our way through it, and we will come out big. We'll come out stronger for sure. And I know this because I've seen it a couple times. It's passed me up a couple times, and this is when Pulsechain finally launched. I waited a few months, I think, Richard. I waited a few months before. I decided I didn't really decide to go live either. I went live off a clip that I was trying to explain how Richard didn't buy the top, but of course he did buy the top. But since he was holding SDI, it was a leverage against the top, and I guess people didn't realize that he, by buying the top, it was actually the most bullish thing that he could have done at the time, because then it would have either given him more PDI, more SDI, and then also that would have been his ceiling. So if anything above that would have been even more leverage against it. Anything down, he would have been good up until whenever he would go below that point, which would have been 3K. But they minted 150 billion DAI last month, 150 billion. So we've seen and the most stablecoin volume ever, 1.28 trillion. And here we go. I gave it to you, bud.
Hey, Briggs.
So yeah, there's a lot of movement going on. There's a lot of neat stuff and a lot of great things that are happening over at MakerDAO. Hexonaut and Miss Maria with Summer Finance. I unfortunately can't use the protocols. I think that's where StakeLend comes in. I think StakeLend and all them, I think you will be able to StakeLend and WiseLend and Gosh dang it, I get them backwards. Anyways, but
Hey Riggs.
It says MakerDAO is going to be run and turn into a completely decentralized ecosystem that'll only be, you can run this code right now by yourself. You can go get SDAI, do a 20x leverage trade. And I urge y'all to listen to what's going on because they're doing and I'll tell you I'll give you one other alpha after this one. They're doing like things like you just put $20 in, you have a chance, like you buy $20 worth of SDAI and you wait like 5 days and then you have a chance to win $50. Like these are the types of things you want to learn how to do now, whether it's providing liquidity or learning how to swap in and out of SDAI, because just holding SDAI alone gives you less, like 8% more DAI. So if you can get into SDAI and you're already holding DAI, why wouldn't you just swap it to? You can just swap it to SDAI yourself. You ain't got to go anywhere. It's like a wrapper. Like it just works like a wrapper. You can get it right off GitHub. So if you're holding like 100,000 DAI, you could literally just turn that into SDAI. Now it might be like 10 cents or 12 cents more in value, but you're still getting the value based off your APY, that it's returning. I think it's 8% now. I think it started at like 10 or 12. But yes, and then a little alpha would be Nexo, NEXO. Another very interesting blockchain, still similar to us, but they're a lot of their stuff is CeFi, right? It's banking and the gross stuff we don't like, but someone's got to do it, right? Someone's got to play the dirty game with the and try to clean them off, kind of clean them out, because that's why I believe we're onboarding. I think it's 8 new fiat currencies are going to be onboarded. The Hong Kong dollar C, the Hong Kong dollar T, the British pound T, the British pound C, Euro C, Euro T, and then USA USD, USD, and USDT, USDC. So yeah, I think that's 8 fiat currencies that are going to be intermingled between DAI, USDC, USDT. Well, I guess those are going to be those aren't fiat. Oh yeah, we're good. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, Euro C, Euro T. I think it's 8 and 8. Should be 8 and 8.
Hey.
So yeah, and those will all be tied together, seemingly with like a Tropa sitting in the background, absorbing value with that other stable coin that's not stable, absorbing value. And then of course we have our stable gas tokens, which I think are very good. It's going to play a pretty interesting role because it sets the rate for everything, right? So, and the gas tokens technically would be right now, and that's something that's very interesting with their chain, is that it's very gas efficient because they allow any token on chain to be used as gas. There might be some stipulations there, but I think we will see some of the most modernized and unique gas efficient blockchain models that have ever been. And I think a few reasons for that. Number one, making it gas, usually as a network grows, gas goes up, right? So when gas goes up, excuse me, the value, it's still a stable coin because it's still following the price of something. Like when Sonny explains this pretty well, when he talks about pegging something to a value and it's like that's all made up. Like value itself and stabilization doesn't exist, right? Everything's always going to be fluctuating in value, and because that's our belief system. Like and that's because whenever you stare at that car, you're going to say 17.5. I'm going to say 18.3. You're going to find it hard pressed to find something that's going to be stable in other people's eyes, unless it's literally written on a piece of paper, and you walk to the store with a $20 bill, and that store owner, that store manager knows that $20 bill can afford this, and this, and this. That's, we understand the system is broken. It's because we're forced fed things that we don't necessarily want to believe, but it's become so natural that's just what we believe. And then over time, you get into situations that we've seen over the past where, times get tough, which builds tough communities, which then cycle of life brings easy times and then soft communities. So I don't know how long we've been in this now. I don't know how long we have until the next until the peak of the market. I can tell you though, the journey is usually just as sweet, if not sweeter than the reward. And sometimes don't go out asking for the reward too quickly, because it could come back and bite you in the hoo-ha. And that you do not want, because that's even harder to come back from than just waiting. Because sometimes this, allowing it to come to you is whenever it found you when you're ready. When you're ready, it'll come.